What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a special edition of the Daily Energy Newsbeat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Saturday, December 21st, 2024. Holy smokes, Stu. It is the last week, full week of 2024. We made it.
Barely.
We barely made it, and it's pretty intense, but we appreciate everybody standing. Here's our weekly recap. Stu and the team kind of bring together as much of the top stories from the week as we can. Stu held the fort down for about two solo shows this week, so thank you there. But we got a lot of great stories. We'll be kind of in and out the next 2 weeks, kind of being Christmas on this weird day. We're going to be getting you a lot of yearly recaps, so there's plenty of content. We're kind of going to empty the drawer for 2024 and get us rolling into 2025. Guys, as always, before quickly we throw it over to the team, thank you for checking us out, energynewsbeat.com. Description below, all links to the timestamps. Thank you to all of our premium Substack subscribers, theenergynewsbeat.substack.com. If you want to get access to our premium subscriber list, go ahead. We have some great plans for some upcoming promotional offers to kind of giving our premium subscribers access to new things. There's a lot of cool stuff. So get in now while prices are this low. If you do want access to our premium subscription on Substack, we appreciate everybody who has done that. And as always, guys, invest in oil.energynewsbeat.com. If you need help solving taxes towards the end of the year, trust me, we're getting close. We will do that. But I'm going to go ahead, Stu, toss it over to the team for the weekly recap. We'll see you Monday.
Biden, DOD doubles down on climate action as Trump promises military reset. Michael, you can't buy this kind of stupid. Climate change does not constitute a current threat to U.S. national security, but the DOD leaders think otherwise. Quote, in fact, the DOD believes the climate crisis is a national security priority. On December 11th, the DOD announced its concern with climate change in Africa. What? Climate-stressed areas are recruiting areas for terrorist group. What is got to do? That is just unbelievable. Here's another horrible quote. The Department of Defense has identified climate change as a national security issue and threat multiplier, top management challenge, and must take bold steps to accelerate adaptation to reduce adverse impacts of climate change. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Do you remember, Michael, when we talked about them putting solar panels on tanks?
Yeah, I mean, though that's not going to work. Again, this is not the Department of Defense's job to worry about climate change. Let's just play this out. Even if I was full board climate change, again, remember, climate change, they've done a sleight of hand here. When I was growing up, it was global warming, and they've done a little sleight of hand to say climate change to account for the fact that if it happened to get colder, they'd be covered as well. So a good sleight of hand. But let's just say climate change as sold by the corporate media was correct. Let's assume that. Let's just alternate universe. Let's assume climate change as the corporate media says it is true. It's still not the Department of Defense's job to worry about climate change. It should be the Department of Energy. It should be any one of the other the Department of Interior, any other of these departments that actually deal with the environment, the Bureau of Ocean Management or whatever, not the DOD. And hopefully this is stuff that DOGE is able to come in and clean up. Yes, do we need to just gut the Department of Defense? No. Are they spending a lot more money than they should? Yeah, they probably should. They probably should take a little bit of a budget hit, and we'd probably be just fine from a defense standpoint. So, again, this is classic government, just idiotic, idiocy, thinking that the DOD should be the ones worried about climate change.
Absolutely. Well said, Michael. Outstanding. You should take vacation.
I've got a week off. I've got a lot of pent-up stuff.
Trump is a nightmare for the EU in more of the ways than one. This actually came in, and I thought it's from RT, which is the Russian.
Your favorite news source, Russia Times?
Oh, yeah, Russia Times, baby. But it was interesting. I don't agree with everything in it, but it has some great points. Well, first, there's Russia. Regarding Moscow, Trump seems ready to talk in a substantial manner, which we've not seen since the Cold War. Trump is realizing he would rather do business with Russia than rather try to have a Cold War. I applaud Trump's methodology there, but he's also put out that challenge to Russia and saying, wait a minute, BRICS, hold off on
Yeah.
trying to have another thing. So I actually like what President Trump is doing.
Shocker, you like what Trump's doing. I do think it is I would have never guessed. Trump
Oh,
is a nightmare for the EU in the standpoint of I think what he does is he does what Elon Musk does, and he's got Elon Musk in his ear. They think from first principles. He was back in 2017 when he was talking about, hey guys, you're addicted to Russian gas. That may cause a conflict at some point. He was thinking from first principles. Hey, if you do see Russia as this threat, if you do see Russia as somebody who's going to be aggressive, maybe think about getting your gas from alternative sources, thinking from first principles. That's what I think he's going to do here. I think that's what he's doing specifically with going to be reversing a lot of the green energy policies here. Specifically, I think there's, the
right.
LNG export ban. That alone is going to be a huge boon for the EU, and it would play them and it would do them well to understand that if we at home can get LNG export facilities approved, all that gas is going overseas. Why? Because there's a huge arbitrage of pricing. We've got enough natural gas here. We've got so much natural gas here. There are companies in specifically the Delaware Basin, so we're talking about the Permian Basin, but on the New Mexico side, who can't produce their wells because there's not enough capacity in the pipelines to put the natural gas, and you can't flare because it's on federal land. So what do you have to do? Shut the well in. We've got
Right.
so much natural gas that it would behoove them to do it. Yet what I fear is going to happen is exactly what this article talks about, is there's going to end up being a butting of heads, because
Yes.
Europe's got to show that they're, smart, they're wiser. It's like, guys, understand what we're trying to do here.
And it's the Germany green energy policies. As Germany's economy goes, so does the EU. Well, they've killed the great Germany manufacturing machine through their green policies. And now Chancellor Scholz is begging for Russian oil again. I mean,
I got to
man,
say it. He sees
I
nothing,
see nothing.
nothing.
I see nothing. We got to do that on a meme, man. That would be a great meme. I see no Russian gas. In fact, that
We
would
got to
be
put
great.
that in a mug.
Germany is an economic model for what not to do. Do you all remember? Take a moment and think over the last 10 years. Germany was always the poster child. They were the one that were out there just going gangbusters for renewable energy. They were leading the charge. And their economy has totally been wunderbar. There's a word out there. I'm afraid I'm going to butcher it, and I don't want to do that. So take the Schlutenbogen off the side there from Germany, and it is gone. VW is closing down. The BASF has closed down. The steel mills. Many Germans like to see their country as a global leader in the fight against climate change, despite Germany being responsible for only 1.5% manned CO2 emissions worldwide. Advocates for climate action argue that Germany could serve as a role model for other nations, and I'm going to add, in how to deindustrialize. Germany's economy is critical to the EU. If the Germany deindustrializes, and it has, the EU will fail. So fiscal irresponsibility is at play. In the states that are behind it and the other countries, the UK, we have New York, New Jersey, and California. Those are the ones that are following this path. It is just absolutely the automotive industry, once a global leader around the world looked up with, has become a basket case. That is a quote. I love that. Germany's at the least world champion in climate protection. No, Germany holds a respectable third place in the Environmental Performance Index. But that category of climate protection, of all things, only comes in seventh place. Great Britain is in fifth. So all the money that they have done, and including closing all of their nuclear facilities, they're now having to renegotiate how much they're buying from France. And guess what France is doing? France is beefing up their 54 nuclear reactors, of which only 20 50% of those were running because they let their maintenance go to waste. So now they are getting to fund the maintenance to bring their nuclear fleet back up online, and they're charging the Germans. You can't buy this kind of entertainment. So the green energy policies of the Green New Deal are equal to fiscal irresponsibility. Forget long-term noise. Oil prices are about the long-term trend. I like this one. This one is a article from Leonard Hyman and William Tiles, and they've got a couple really good points in here. And it is, what is the question is, what's the direction of oil prices and what does it matter? You remember the comment by John Gleneth Galbraith about economists making projections? He said that their only value is to make astrologers look good. However, I will answer. Oil prices will wobble around the trend line as they've been doing for the past half century. That's called reversion to the mean and does matter, or at least it's mattered for the last 50 years. And in this figure one, you can see that it is constantly going up to about the spot price of $70, WTI versus the spot price over time. And then you see a real price of oil, the spot price, as it's going across real time. I thought this was absolutely a very good article on this. Those investments, if properly made for decades, we can say what's best about the future with any certainty that the rate of population growth is falling faster than previously expected, and that a huge amount of money is poured into the development of electric and hybrid vehicles, which will eat into the oil industry's biggest market, transportation. Beyond that, whatever goes in the economic metric model is about highly paid guesswork. Well, guess what? The electric vehicles are not taking off and they are not eroding. We've kind of joked about it for a bit, and that is around here, the more money that is spent in renewable energy, the more fossil fuels will be used. Or you want to call it Turley's law, if you want, or Turley's rule. It's happening. We're going to see it again for this next year and to the foreseeable future. Trump expected to annihilate California's green mandates, the most radical in the world. This story is from Ronald Stein. He is a friend of the show, and we've got in the show notes in the article on this a link to his sign up for energy literacy from Ronald Stein. Ronald's got several great books out. He's been on the podcast a couple times, and absolutely, I love my discussions with Ronald. He is, as I affectionately call, a national treasure. California Governor Gavin Newsom represents a population of 40 million. The state's residents are a minuscule 0.4% of the 8 billion people on this planet, but he has California acting like an independent country with environmental laws, regulations, and mandates unmatched on this planet. Now, Governor Newsom is saying he's going to Trump-proof California, which is absolutely stupid. Wind turbines for the generation of electricity under favorable wind conditions would be non-existent if it weren't for the government subsidies and mandates behind them. Today, we have towering engines of mass destruction marching across the countryside, killing birds and bats and laying waste to farmlands and forests. Ronald is dead on right there. To meet the goal, listen to this. Ronald points out the goal of 85,000 gigawatt hours of power would require 2,500 floating 10 megawatt wind turbines 20 miles offshore, each one 1,000 feet tall, anchored in water 4,000 feet with high voltage undersea transmission lines connecting to each one of them on land-based substations. If they were, it would be $300 billion. The California is already in debt up to their ear holes. And when you sit back and take a look at this, not only are you going to need that amount of power, but you're going to need standby power or what's called baseline power. You're not going to be able to even get this thing off the ground partially. Not only are you going to kill all the wildlife out there, it is fiscally beyond irresponsible. A Facebook trailer illustrates for the new Landman drama television series created by Taylor Sheridan and Christian Wallace. Newsom is oblivious to the fact that every product in our society that did not exist 200 years ago is made from oil. So he's got a war on our lifestyle and anything that is convenient. And yet he is above the law. Again, hats off to Ronald Stein. This is a great article. And also hats off to Groke. I love the picture that is there. You've got Trump closing the door on Newsom, generated by Groke on X. DR Congo sues Apple over blood minerals. This is really disgusting when you sit back and take a look at the energy transition is failing, and critical minerals, Michael, you being a School of Mines alumni, a two-time alumni, and a very smart cat, this is an amazing story when you sit back and think, what, you're not a cat?
I'm a cat, maybe not a smart cat, but we'll let that one slide.
Okay. In a press release, the legal team claimed that the tech company manufactures its gadgets with tin, titanium, tungsten, plagued from the DRC and laundered through international supply chains. No, say it isn't so. They accused Apple of being deceptive in commercial practices. No way to assure consumers that supply chains are clean. They're not. They're dirty. They're blood minerals. I love it. We recognize the situation in the region is challenging. We have increased our support to organizations that will do vital work in helping these communities, said Apple's, according to Reuters. Here's the thing. Do you know how much minerals are in the United States?
There's a decent amount, not that much, but there is a decent amount.
There is. And we could get what we could get here and not have to rely on a large chunk of blood minerals. If we had proper permitting, I would rather, Michael, let me ask you this question. The United States exploration and production produces the cleanest oil and gas on the planet. Is that a fair statement?
It's 100% true.
And would the same apply to the same thing? We would not have children being abused in mines in U.S. mines.
Oh, absolutely. But it comes back to the point. It's more expensive to mine minerals here. So a company like Apple says, yo, I want the cheapest possible mineral. So I'm going to go find it to where I'm going to look the other way and say, oh, I know
they're going to do a Chancellor Schultz.
But it's not my fault. And this is where this is a much longer, soapbox that I could go off. But there are very few cases to where capitalism, and the incentives of capitalism break down. And this, you could argue, is one of those sections. It's one reason why outsourcing has become the move for all of these companies, because in the United States, we have capitalism, but we have controlled capitalism. There are rules. Yes. There are things you can't do. There are things you can do. There are child labor laws. There are securities laws. There are an immense amount of regulations that if you abide by those regulations, and we can argue about whether or not big corporations have to abide by them, whether small ones, we can have that, all that argument. But by and large, it's what I would call controlled capitalism. But you go over to the Congo, there ain't no control. All it takes is a couple $100,000 slipped underneath some minister's door. And guess what? I see nothing. Companies take advantage of the unfettered capitalism and unfettered access, outsource the problem to a third party so that when it comes around to them, say, well, we were just buying our minerals from Congolese mine. Okay, well, who's at fault? The Congolese mineral companies or the people that buy the minerals? It's kind of like the drug dealer. Who's in charge? Who's really at fault? The individual street drug dealer or the cartel? In this case, the cartel's Apple.
Right. Or are you saying that we are for buying Apple phones?
Oh, now you're really getting
Uh,
into an extremely touchy subject. Everybody else is but me. Not my iPhone.
Not my iPhone. I want to make sure that when Elon comes out with his phone, we're moving our company to Elon
And
phones.
we're moving over to Xmail when he rolls out
Oh,
Xmail.
absolutely, baby. I'm all in on that.